What is going on, YouTube? Modsville USA here. Today I'm going to show you how to RGH 1.2 Phat Xbox 360. So I got this Modern Warfare 2 console. You see it? Got this on GameStop. They had a sale selling consoles for $59.99. I bought a couple. And they pulled some shit. I don't know if you've seen Mr. Mario 2011's video, seeing if they're still up to the same tricks. You got a Xenon that wasn't. Gotta tell you right now, I've been buying a lot of these lately, like maybe about 15 to 20 the past 2 months from GameStop, and I'd say about 95% of them all have been refurbished with the X-clamp fix and the fan mods and all that shit. This one, they did me really dirty. See, this is a Modern Warfare 2 console, and yeah, it's a Zephyr. These were all Jaspers originally, so they took a fucking Zephyr out of something and put it in this casing. It's pretty fucked up. I imagine this is the first Zephyr I've gotten from them. This really shouldn't be a Zephyr. It's kind of bullshit, but you know what? It's RGH 1.2able. Probably won't live very long, unfortunately. It is a Zephyr that has been refurbished, so it's most likely already died once before. Honestly, we'd be lucky if it lives throughout this tutorial, but we shall find out. It boots right now, yeah, let's get into it. So I'm gonna crack this guy open. I'll see you when I got the board. I want to show you guys just real quick. Just crack this guy open a little bit. We're already missing a screw here. And a screw. Motherfucker. Right here. Ta-da. Good job, GameStop. Alright, keep tearing her open. We got something else interesting in here. Check this out. It's looking backwards on the camera, but let's see. It says no 1149 read. Don't know what the fuck that's supposed to mean. But it's also not a very good sign. Alright. Alright, so I got the board completely out. So now we're going to hook up my JR programmer, Nandex, if that's what you got. It's the same soldering for both. One more little detail. I don't know if this is a tutorial, but I'm also going to complain about all this jank shit GameStop did. So we got this heatsink here, completely fucking bent. And this isn't the first time I've seen this in one of these GameStop consoles. I don't know what the point of that is, but it's usually should be sitting flush. It is not. They're definitely doing that on purpose. I don't really understand it. But yeah, there we go. Some more quality GameStop bullshittery. Now, let me see if I can get a better angle on this for you guys. Alright, that should be a little bit better. Now what I want to do, I want to throw up on screen the points I'm soldering, because I don't have a camera to get super into, you know, super deep. But yeah, should be able to figure it out. start, I'm going to tin these at a little bit of flux. If you don't have flux, you'll most likely be able to get away with it, but I'd highly recommend investing $3 or so in some flux off of Amazon. If you still have a Radio Shack near you, that would be a good option as well. So I'm just tinning the tip. It's a good habit. Cleaning my soldering iron. Looks quite beautiful. You can get away with slopping it up. That's not what we're doing. So I'm going to start here. So there's a very fine film on these 360 boards, so it'll take a couple seconds to heat up to where you can actually solder on a lot of the times. I know some people scrape it off with like some sort of fiberglass tool, but that's really not necessary. Alright. Head over here. So just be careful about the capacitors. You don't want to touch your iron to those directly. You could easily cause them some damage. Alright, there we go. All tinned up. We're gonna go the black wire first. We're going to hit it with the red. And then I like to go yellow and then start coming back around. Yellow, orange, we got brown. Make sure you don't mix up your orange and brown. They can look very similar if you've got some jank ass lighting. Alright, now up to the top, we got green, and last, and also least, I'm going to hit with the blue. beautiful. Alright, next bit is going to be on the computer. So what you're going to want to do is plug power supply up to this guy with your Nandex JR programmer up through USB, and I will see you in JRunner. Make sure you don't turn it on. This needs power, but you don't need to turn it on. Just plug it in. That is all. Don't turn it on. Never have, but you know, it might end up bad. I wouldn't recommend trying it. Alright guys, I'm back on my computer. So we got JRunner loaded up. Got our 360 wired up, plugged in to the computer, as well as the power source plugged in. So we're going to hit read NAND, make sure set to 2. It's good to go. Recognizes it is a Zephyr. And it's just going to read. That's all. It's just going to read. So I'm going to do a quick, fancy speed up here. I'll see you guys when this is done. Alright, so my NAND's got finished reading. Mine is exceptionally bad, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 bad blocks. That is out there. That is quite out there. Apparently they've all been remapped, but this could be an issue. So what I'm going to do is, instead of writing the NAND in Zell, we're going to be keeping the JR programmer wired up. We're going to be writing it with JRunner at the end, because I've had issues with Zell and writing NANDs with blocks that are insane. And this one's out there. This is probably the worst NAND I've ever seen. This is pretty bad. But we shall plow ahead. So what you're going to want to do next is select glitch 2 up here. See that? Yeah. Alright. Select glitch 2. Now I assure you this is an RGH 1.2, but you still select glitch 2. Remember that. You need to rebuild your NAND later. RGH 1.2 is still considered RGH 2. So create ECC, Zephyr, that is correct for me. And then write ECC. Now, big word of advice. Whenever you do something in JRunner, just double check, make sure it's still selected that it is glitch 2. It likes to switch it to J once in a while, which can really fuck you up, and I've fallen victim to it once or twice. Yeah, sometimes I think it's when you enter your CPU key and it does this whole thing, it will switch this to Jtag, which we will see in a little while. So we've got our ECC written. Next, what you're going to want to do is grab your Coolrunner. That's what I'm using. Whatever glitch chip you're using. I would recommend the knockoff Chinese Coolrunners. They're all over eBay. They're dirt cheap right now. And yeah, you don't have to wire it up like the Matrix ones for writing to it, which is a nice, convenient touch. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to plug this motherfucker in. Alright. It is hooked up now, so what we're going to want to do is go to Advanced Custom NAND-CR Functions. We get this little window here. So for command, go down to XSVF, and then for file name, I'm going to click this, and you're going to navigate to the RGH 1.2 folder that I've included. So here's the root of that folder. Let's try these first, and if you're mad, go to try these first. Then we go to Matrix. I know we're using a Coolrunner, but we use the Matrix files. Then we go to the bottom folder, which is XSVF. And you can start with any of these. I like starting. I've never actually done a Zephyr, so I don't know where we're gonna want to land with this one is. But for Jaspers, 18 is usually pretty good. I like to start here and then move down. See how it works. We're gonna start with 18 and see if it works. Alright, our Coolrunner is programmed. Now for the time being, we are done on here. So I'm going to see you back on my soldering station. Okay, so here we are. We got our Coolrunner right here. So first thing you're going to want to do, switch this switch to Phat. And that's it. You don't need to remove anything. We're going to keep this as if it was an RGH 1 chip. Now, with the Jaspers, there's these caps here. Sometimes, if you're having trouble with it booting, or it's got slow boot times, you're going to want to short this cap one here, as you do on Jaspers usually. Sometimes you don't have to, but if you're getting weird boot times or it's just not booting, short this, and I guarantee you, for the most part, that will solve your problems. If it is already booting, if it's booting and it's taking a while for it to boot, but you didn't have these shorted, short them, boom, you're getting instant boots at that point. Alright, so I'm going to take my flux. So we're only going to be doing everything up to D. So these last two stay disconnected. So I'm going to tin these guys up. Alright, that looks pretty good. Here we go, we got our cables. Now what I like to do is I use mostly everything from here, but for standby clock we're going to use an alt point, which I recommend you do every damn time. The standard point is really easy to fuck up, and yeah, the alt point's just as good. So we're going to be using, I've got my own 30 gauge wire here. We're going to be using that for the standby clock, as well as the CPU reset. Everything else is going to stay the standard, comes with the chip wires. So the first one is our power. Second one is our ground. Alright, so we're also going to need A, which is green, and C, which is yellow. Now, I'd highly recommend at this point, there's a very large lead here, way too large, that comes standard with these wires. We're just going to take a pair of scissors, wire cutters, whatever, and trim that down, especially for the A1, because it's by a whole lot of resistors that you can easily short out if you don't trim that down. So do that right now, if I can find my damn scissors. Whatever, I got some needle nose pliers handy. Just going to trim it. That doesn't work too well. Alright, these will work. Alright. There's one down. And the green one. Trim the shit out of it. Cool. Now you only need to do this on one side of it. We're going to use the standard long side solder. That's going to be soldered to the chip. Alright, that's good. And C goes here. Beautiful. Now with these wires, I like to just eyeball it. You do want to keep your wiring very tight and keep the wire short. But what I like to do is just kind of overdo it and then cut it down to size once we see how much we actually need. So B goes here. Try to keep the colors standard for you guys, as to not confuse. Alright, B is good, and then get a blue cable for the CPU reset. This one, you're going to want a good amount of length. It's got to be a little bit longer than the green wire. Just a little bit. It's going right next to it, but it goes just a little bit further. Alright. We got our chip wired up. Alright. Now, remove this dumbass sticker they put on here. Remove the sticker from your Coolrunner. Attach it right here. Now the first one I like to do is the ground. Make sure to put it above all the other cables. What we're gonna do, this tin, this little metal piece here on the AV jack, and attach it to that. Great. The RGH 1.2 guide has you solder that directly to the board. Using the AV jack is fine. It works just the same. Alright, now power. So we go right here. Directly next to the green wire from your JR programmer. That looks pretty good to me. Now that's it for the top of the board. What we're going to want to do next is route these wires so we go orange, yellow, through these holes, pull them till they're taut. And typically it's a good idea to keep your A and D, or green and blue cables, keep them away from one another. You want to separate them up a little bit. People claim there can be an interference. I guess we shall just take their word for it. I have had issues before where those were right by each other and I moved it and it worked. Alright. Nice and rowdy. Got green and blue separated. We got a yellow, orange going through the same one. Alright. So our orange is a good bit of length. We're going to use this alt point right here. I have a picture up for you guys so you can see exactly where I'm going. It's right outside the hole. I'm telling you right now, a million times better than the stock one. Or the standard, not alt point. I like to just use my teeth to strip these little 30 gauge wires because I'm fucking savage. I'm gonna tin this shit up. Fucking animal. Rah. Alright. We'll flex it up again. I can do a little a little bit better of a solder job on that. You want them to look nice and beautiful. Never settled for less, you know? Alright, that's great. Now C is going right here. FT6U1 is the point. We're going to tin that fucker up. Got a nice tinny. Now I trimmed mine pretty damn short. Oh, which ended up quite glorious. This is looking pretty so far. Next, we got a green wire. And one perk, I suppose, about not having the X clamp on this guy is it makes this soldering job here like 5 times as easy, because you're not working against the X clamp. It's just all open and exposed, which I do enjoy. So you've got these 3 sets of resistors. You'll see them kind of there's 1, 2, 3 resistors, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's kind of a nice little sequence, very easy to recognize. We're going to be doing the ones, if you're looking at the board, it's going to be on the right. Yeah, I'll throw a picture up, but just look for these 3 sets of resistors. That's how I like to spot it. I'm going to hit it with a bit of flux. And really, this guy, you just flux it up and have a bit of solder on your iron, you can get away with not tinning it. It already has solder on the board. You want to be very careful with this one, because it is very easy to lift up this little resistor directly above it. Probably even the one below it, more so the one above it, and I've done it and it causes serious issues, and you're going to need to get another one, get some tweezers, pull another one from a dead board. It's a whole thing. Like, just be very careful not to lift that resistor. Don't spend too much time soldering on this guy. However, it does look like I got mine straight away. One little touch, just flux it up, touch it, and get the fuck out of there while you still can. Now, the CPU reset spot. So right here, you see these 2 pads directly below C7R115. You'll see that number, that's a resistor. Directly below that, there's 2 soldering pads that are very out of place. They're very easy to spot. We're going to be soldering, if you're looking at it the direction I'm looking at it, it's the one on the left. Alright, that's a nice little tinning job. So this is, I do have excess wire, so I'm going to cut that down 2 size. You like to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. You don't want to cut it to where it'll just barely make it, because I like to come at it from an angle. So if it's just taunt, it can easily short out that resistor to the left, but the board allows a little bit of room below it, so if you can bend your wire this way, you're not going to risk shorting anything out. So I'll say I'll cut it right here. Get toothy. Do better than that. Some more solder to my iron. There, we need more flux. So I'll use my finger, because I'm a freak. There it is. That looks pretty. Nice. That is a solid connection we got now. Like I said, bend it down like this. Don't want to short anything out. Alright. So at this point, just kind of want to put your wires in the way. We're going to tape them down later, but for now, we're just going to want to test it. Keep them loose. See if this fucker boots up. What I like to do is put it back into the housing. Add the main board. Add the fan. And add the little plastic airflow deal. So this is what we got. Set up, fan, make sure your fan's plugged in. Oh yeah, and that's right, this thing's got the fan mod, so I gotta hook this guy up. It's got a front board. Some people slop it up and don't set it up as much as I just did, but you know, it's gonna be running for a little bit. Always put it back together at least this much, just in my experience. You don't want some little piece of some shit you got floating around, getting in, shorting it out, and then having to troubleshoot that later. It takes a bit more time now, but it could potentially save you a lot of time in the future and help you from, you know, just blowing it out from it overheating while we're in Zell. So this is all set up. I'm gonna plug it up, and I'll see you guys on the computer. Hopefully boots the first time. Alright guys, so I got it wired up. You got the Coolrunner in there, but let me give you a little backtrack in here. So the Zephyr I was working on, couldn't get to boot, tried everything, and I looked online, and pretty much there's been zero people who have successfully RGH 1.2 a Zephyr online. It seems pretty much impossible, and if anyone's done it, nobody's declared that they've done it online. Every thread just ended in failure. So if you have a Zephyr, I think you're pretty much shit out of luck for RGH 1.2. Terrible console. GameStop really fucked me with this one, so I believe I'm going to send it back. Because fuck them. Anyway, this is a Jasper that I had sitting around. I redid everything. Got back to this point. I had two consoles that I was going to mod today anyway. But yeah, as you can see, hopefully if it, yeah, there it is. Cap is bridged. I'm using timing file 18. This is a 16 meg, by the way. Oh. Pulse. And there she goes. Pretty damn quick boot. So you're going to want to have an Ethernet cable set up for this. You don't have to, but I highly recommend it because it makes all this a hell of a lot easier. As you can see, we have booted into Zell. I'm going to switch to just the computer captured footage at this point. Alright. Now you got two options. One, you can manually type all of this in JRunner, your CPU key. That's option one. Option two is have the Ethernet cable hooked up like I do. And you get your IP address here. It's 125. We'll go into JRunner. And that's what I want to type in. IP down here. 10.1.10. 125. Get CPU key. Boom. And as you can see what I was talking about earlier, it switched itself to Jtag from glitch 2. Now if we didn't notice that and continued on with this, created the image, flashed it, our console would not boot because the NAND would think it's set up wired as a Jtag, which it is not. So you have to manually click glitch 2. Always keep that in your mind, or it could fuck you up, especially if you've taken out your JR programmer or NANDX wires. That would really fuck you over there. So we're good. I'm going create XE build image. Beautiful. There it goes. It's doing its thing. Click show working directory. We're going to copy update flash. Alright. Now I'm going to grab a flash drive. I know earlier I said I had so many bad blocks that I was going to just use the hardwired way to flash it over, but that was a different console this video started with. That's already back on its stock NAND, ready to get sent back to those fuckheads over there at GameStop. This thumb drive is fucked up apparently. Let's use this one. Hey, there we go. Alright, paste it in here. Place file in the destination. Alright, now I got my new update flash on this thumb drive. And what I'm going to do is plug it back into the 360 and restart it. Now, is a good time to remember, if you plugged your Ethernet cable in, unplug it right now. Because after this flashes and we boot to the Xbox 360 screen, we're not going to want to try to connect to Xbox Live without having Ninja or some other stealth server. Just unplug your Ethernet cable now so you don't accidentally reset and get your KV banned. I've done that a couple times and it's quite unfortunate. So I'll unplug my Ethernet and now turn this fucker off. Reboot it. Alright, it's booting now. Now, all you gotta do at this point is just wait for it to do its thing. And there we go. Found update flash. Press power now. If you don't want to flash it, let it do its damn thing. You absolutely do want to flash it. And if you just so happen to have another update flash file on there for a different console, I think I've accidentally done that once or twice, it will acknowledge and notice that it's not right and it won't continue here. So if it installs, then you're good to go. And remember, like I said before, if you have a lot of bad blocks, it's worth using JRunner to write your NAND. And for that, all you do is plug your NANDX or your JR programmer back in, and just like we did to read the NAND, we're just going to write it. Just write the update flash. Alright, image written, shut down. Alright, resetting with my Ethernet unplugged. It's lighting up. Boom, there it is. And as you can see, this thing is consistently booting up instantly as if it were an old school Jtag console. Well, that's it. Now have an InstaBoot RGH 1.2 Phat Xbox 360 ready to go. Now let me know if you guys would like to see more tutorials on this, what you do with your 360 once it is already RGH'd, modded. Show you how to do emulators, mod menus, XEX menu, all that jazz. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. Leave a like on the video if it helped you out. If you want to leave a dislike, that's cool, man. I don't care. And yeah, subscribe if you want to see more, if you're new around here. Thanks again for watching. Ugh.